Okay, welcome to this webinar. Just want to make sure that everyone can hear. Perfect. Let's get started. This webinar is about the new module called Forms for Editors. And the agenda that we're going through today is more or less this. Why do we need a new Forms module? We do have two Forms module already. And then a point on what this module is and what it's not. And we're going to take a full demo with template tips and tricks and all the things that we can do. A small look at some of the things that you can expect from the Forms module in the next version of Dynamicweb. That will be 8.7 in August. And then if any of you have any input for the module, we can take that on the questions section. So first of all, why do we need a new Forms module? We all already have the good old Forms module, which was the very original one. At some point, we also created Forms for Data Lists. And Forms for Data Lists solved some of the issues that we have with the good old Forms module. The good old Forms module was not template-based, and there was not that much you could do about changing the layout and the templates, and you cannot control all those things. Forms for Data Lists solved all of those issues, but it failed on another task, which is making forms available and editable for editors, because this is a kind of a geeky module, the one Forms for Data Lists. So, and that's an issue that we want to fix. And then we also have the item creator, which also is able to create forms, basically creating items from the front end. And isn't a new Forms module more or less the same? And you can say, yes, it is, but then still not, because some of the things that we wanted to solve was some of these things. Because Forms for Data List is too hard for editors to use. It's too geeky. And we need something to work with for everyday use for the editor using the system, usually creating content. An old form, it's old of course, but it's and it's not very modern looking, and you cannot control the layout of the forms and so on. But it's still the Forms module that most people use because it's very easy to use and understand. So Forms for Editors, that is also why it contains that name, Forms for Editors. It has to be easy for editors. So it's pretty easy to create new forms. It's easy to edit mails and receipts. It's easy to access and export the data that we get from the module. And we can do all this, the editors, without getting technical help from you, the partners. And the forms will still look good. And it's also template based, and it still also has a lot of new features, and it supports things like Bootstrap and HTML5 and all that things that you would require as the partners as well. So basically it gives you more or less all the same functionalities as you get from Forms for Data List, but it's wrapped in a more user-friendly or editor-friendly user interface. And as you will see later, some of the things that it can do, it will do that automatically, like showing, sending out the receipts. They will look good, and it's also possible to edit what's being shown on the receipt page and stuff like that. Some of the new features that this module have over the original Forms module is, it's first of all, it's based on templates, and it's also CSS friendly. So you can still get the forms to look exactly like you want to. And basically there's two ways of working with templates. You can use a generic auto template that supports all forms, or you can actually go in and take the Forms module and create a custom template where you have all the form fields exactly where you want them, and you can do very customized styling. So you have both things. Another new feature is the new Forms module also supports checkbox lists. We have the radio button lists and select boxes, but we never had a checkbox list, so that's a new one. You can control things like maximum submits. So on the form, you can say this is only allowed to be submitted a number of times, and if the form is being submitted that number of times, you are redirected to another page or shown a message. So we can use that for sign-ups for events where we want to control how many can sign up. And then it has some new fields on the form fields. So we have prepends, appends, and so on. Some of the things that we need from HTML5 and Bootstrap frameworks. and others. So a bit more information or possibilities on what can be made with the forms module. Then the forms module is data bound, meaning that we don't store data in files when they're submitted. There's some security issues by storing form input in CSV files. It's also pretty easy to export the data we get in. We can get it out in CSV or in Excel format and other things like this. And then this forms module is also integration friendly, not in the terms of getting data in and out of the form submit, but integrating with other modules. So when you click on an event, you would get the event information into the form pre-filled and stuff like that. I'll show you in a bit what you can do. Let's see if I have any questions here. Loud and clear is just that. And one thing the forms for editors is not, it's not meant for the most advanced scenarios. Use the item creator instead for that, where you can do all kinds of things and also control where the data goes and so on. It's not the Swiss Army knife of input, but it can be used in most scenarios, as you will see later. And it's not meant for developers. Of course, it can be extended, and new developers has a lot more features than you are used to from the other forms modules. But this is called forms for editors. So basically, we focus on that it's possible for the editors to get a form up and running without getting the help of a developer. And then we've given developers the handles that they need to hook into the module and change behavior as intended. But they are not the first in line when we add new features to this one. But enough talking, let's switch into showing this module instead of just talking about it. I have my administration goes to the module section, and you can see I have forms, which is the good old forms, and the user interface that belongs to that. As you can see, the forms that I have right here would be the same that we have in forms for editors. This part of the user interface is more or less the same. And it's like that. The forms for editors is sharing the same data as forms up here. So you would automatically get all the forms you created with the old forms module are available in forms for editors without any changes. The only difference is that when we go in and edit the forms, we'll see some more features that we do not have up in the old forms module. If I create a form with forms for editors, it is also available in forms, but there might be some of the information that you entered, like the prepends and appends and so on, which is not available up in the old forms module. And then we also have forms for data lists, which is a module for itself, and it has nothing to do with any of these. But first of all, you can create a new form right here. That would just be giving it a name, but it could also be opening one of the existing ones. And here we see the first change compared to the forms module that we have today. So we get a more or less what you see is what you get kind of interface. I have all my form fields in here. I can see the labels, I can see the field name and size, and one of the new features here, it supports placeholders. It supports supporting help text. I can see when it was edited and created this field. And I can basically see all the fields of the form in here, and then I can drag them around so I can see more or less what I want to do. And up here I can create the different elements of a form, and these are just the regular ones. And as I said, we have a checkbox list. That's one of these as a new feature. I can add new buttons, send and reset buttons, and I can also add elements like just some text that would be displayed in the form, like this one. I can also insert images like this one into the form, and that's basically it. So when we have a field, we have some various properties that are available. The label, placeholder, should it be required, and is this published or active or not? The description or helping text, supporting text, and then I can choose between the different types, which was basically what I did when I was creating the new field. And down here, I can see the preview. How can I expect this to look like in the front end, more or less, depending on the template, of course. The more advanced or the more technical settings are moved into these two ones. I have layout where I can add prepends and appends for use in in Bootstrap. I can add some classes. I can control the size in pixels if I want to surpass it. And I can control the system name also from in here. And in terms of values, that's the same things as we can do in the old forms module. We can give it a default value in here, or take it from, for example, a user that's logged into the system. We can get information from that user and fill it out. So if you have users that are logged in, you can pre-fill the field with the name or so on, and you can control the max lengths of the field. So these are regular fields. If we take a look at, for example, a list like this one, we have the same information up here in the settings, and then we have an options group in here, and this is where I can add new options with the text and a value, define if it should be active or default value. I can also control that from this list. Can delete it, activate it, or deactivate it also from the list, and sort it up and down. I also have the possibility of sorting by using these these shortcuts up here, so I get them sorted by alphabet or whatever their values are. I also have the possibility of adding a lot of options once at a time, so I can do things like this. Add all the labels and values in one field, or pasted it from something else, and I can override the exception or the labels I have, or I can just add them to the existing list, and then I can go sort them by text, and they will go into the place where they should be in the order in here. So pretty simple to add and edit options in the list, and this goes for a checkbox list, but also select boxes and radio buttons and so on. So pretty simple to create a form. If we take a look at the forms out here, I get some settings in here where I can control the name of the form, which field contains the email that we want to send the receipt to when they submit it. I can set a default template that should be used for this form no matter where it's used. Usually it's not set, and it would be using the templates that the system is born with. I'm going to give you an introduction to that in a minute. But basically, the template that is rendering the form is part of the Dynamicweb application and is distributed with Dynamicweb, so you don't need a template to run that. And one of the new features, I can say this should be only submitted 25 times, and when that is reached, the form will no longer be rendered. And I can control how required fields should be. Should I run in multiple columns or a field below name? I can do that as well. So the form will look like this. Also a feature from the old forms module, but now it's also part of the template. So that's pretty much it for managing the form. I have different views up here. I can go to a list view. It's a bit more geeky view. I have a lot of information, but it might be preferred when you want to do some more advanced forms. So if you have some advanced users, I can see what fields I have and their type and options, and I can do sorting, and I can change things like required and email field from a list. I can also do that here. I can set it to click the active, unactive, and switch it right here in the user field, and also should they be required or not. You can see these stars being shown or not. So also the same features are available, you just have to right click. So it's depending on what you want to do. Some of the other features that we've added, it's now pretty easy to copy a field. So if I copy something, it will get in here, and also it will copy all the options that I have in right here. And it is also pretty easy to copy a form. So if I copy the form, I will get a copy of all the fields that we have in here and so on. Pretty simple, which is a feature that we did not have in the old forms module working as well. So that's about it for administration of and creating the forms. We'll take a look at the form data in a minute. In terms of publishing the forms, there's a new module. We have the good old forms module, and it's more or less working the same way, where I choose the form to show, and I have some settings on how it should be be published. Forms for editors works in like all the other modules in Dynamicweb. I insert the forms for editors on this paragraph, and then I choose the form. And here's a bit different from the forms module we do today. How should it be rendered? Should I go into an automatic rendering, meaning that the template being used is one that we distribute with Dynamicweb. So when you get a new version, a hotfix or something else, it will contain a new template that might fix any errors and so on that we have into that one. As an alternative, I can select I want to use my own template, and we have some default distributions that you can choose from. For example, the default form template is the same as the system uses, and it's a razor-based template that implements some of the behavior that we want. This is razor-based, and it's not the most simple form template, but it reacts on all the settings that we have on the forms. You can also go in and create a bootstrap template, and it looks pretty much the same thing. But what it does, it uses these form groups, and it supports the preprint and the appends as we do know them, and they are using columns from Bootstrap instead of using a table to render the form. But apart from that, the logic is more or less the same as the system template that we use in that. And other new features, I can overrule the text on the button. So if we take a look at the forms in the front end, this is how we will look using this default template. This value is coming from the form definition itself. Now I have the possibility of saying on this page, if it's a call to action where you can order something, it could be you want on some pages you want download price list, or you could have something else, sign up for event, or it could be sign up for something else. But it would be the same form from time to time, but instead of having the same call to action on your form button, you can now overrule the text from the paragraph settings. A very minor thing, but it keeps the number of forms down compared to the old forms module. And I have a question. Can we insert code snippets in the value of the field? I don't know if you can do that now, but yeah, you can do that. Just thinking. No, you cannot do that, Antonio. It's not possible to insert code for the time being, not as the default value on the form definition. But that's a good input. I can see how many times this form was submitted, and then I can control what happens when the form is submitted. Should they be used, show a confirmation template, or do I want to redirect them to a specific page? And I want to send an email to me as a website owner. It works the same way as the old forms module. It has a subject. It could have a sender either statically defined or using the email field on the form. Who should receive it? That would be me. I can comma separate a list of recipients or CCs or BCCs. And again, I have what will happen with the mail being sent. I can have an automatic email being sent to me containing all the information that I want to do, or I can use a template that renders the entire email. Now this is the one that we distribute, and as you can see from this, it's one of these templates that works with all email clients, and it's responsive, and it contains all the information, and it's dynamic in the way that it will render all the information coming from the form that we submit in here. One change that we have is if you want to write something in the email, it's not necessarily has to be in the template itself, because the template has a receipt text somewhere in here. Let's see if we can find the template tag for that. So somewhere in here I have the subject, and I have probably the text somewhere around here. I cannot find it, but you can see these are the information or the settings that comes from in here. So that would be the subject from the subject field up here. and I also have the text from the text field in here. So using a generic template, I get all the information like the heading and who sent it and so on, and this text from the settings in here, and it's not needed to go into the template and edit that one. So I can click here and I got a full editor. I can use all the information or all the features that I usually get in the editor. And we have a question. Can we use attachments for the receipts and so on? I don't think it's in the version that we have right now, but it's, let me see. I know it's in the product backlog that you can add documents or attachments to the receipt that is being sent out, like we have it on the e-commerce now. But what you can do is I can add a link to a file if I want to go through 1 million pop-up windows, but I can easily link to a file in the file manager, and in this way distribute it with the email receipt. I know it's not the same as attaching it, but it's possible to link into files as using this feature instead. So I get an email as a website owner, and the user will get an email as a receipt. And if an email field is attached to the form, and it has been defined as we saw it earlier, and again, it works the exact same way. I can use the automatic, or I can use a specific template for the purpose of it, and I have a text I can edit it and send it out. And then here I can see this one is having 4 submits. If I use the same form more than one place on my website, if I have a sign-up form, but I submit or I publish the sign-up form for 2 different events, and one event has 25 sign-ups and the other one has 30 sign-ups, I can control or override the max submits that is valid for this instance of the form and not the form as in general. So I can overrule this. And here I can also set what should happen if the number of max submits are reached. I can redirect to another page explaining why this happened, or I can render a template saying why are you not allowed to submit this form, or give them another page with another form if they need to sign up for a waiting list. And if you have a file field on the form itself, you can define where the attachments or the files they add to the form should be uploaded. And what we support on the forms also, if you have a file field, let's find one. Looks like this. It actually supports adding as many files as you want to one of these. You just have to create it in the template. And I have a question more from Nuno. Yeah, the max submits is based on the existing records when the form is rendered. Yes, that's true. So yeah, let's take a look at what is meaning. So if I go into forms for editors and I have a form like this one, I get the form data in here. So whenever this form is filled out with some kind of information, I get a submit in here. And what I can see in here is the page ID from which the form was submitted. So right now this submits are 4, and if I set a limit of 3, I would not be able to submit it, but I can just delete a record. And now I only have 3 submits on that page, and then it's only what I'm gonna take a look at, only these 3 at the moment where the form is being submitted. So that's pretty simple. I can also, now we're here, take a look at the data that came in from this one, the IP was submitted from, and so on. And I can also export either to Excel or to CSV. Let's have a look at the data coming out. Wrong format. Let's see if this works better. Yeah, it did. So I get all the information and I can use it in other systems right away. So let's take a look at the published form as we have it. Pretty simple. Get the labels and the fields, and I'm not going to go into details on how the template works because they're pretty simple. I have a loop of fields and I go through those, but I can also have a template tag for each of the elements on the form, so I can basically hard code the form exactly as I want to. Some of the things I can do in the front end is this field, it has a system name that we define in the backend. So if I take a look at the system name in here, or take a look at the control, it's called name, which happens to be the same thing. And one of the things that we can do here, which makes it get away, easier to integrate with. So if I have an item which is an event and I want to sign up to that one, I can create things like adding information to the fields by filling them out. So it's getting information from the query string. So if I use the system name of a form, so this one is called company name, and I get the system name from here, and I can say and company name equals Dynamicweb. So it's pretty simple to fill out the forms like this one. And what I can also do is go fill out checkbox lists. Let's see, I have an example now. I can comma separate the values of the checkbox lists. So this is the system name of this checkbox list. I can also do the same down here and so on. So I can, using links from an item type into this one, I can pre-fill information into the form. That could be the name of the event. Now this is a text. I can also change the text coming in here by using the right system name up here, and I'm also able to add hidden fields. Instead of, if it was an event I was signing up for, I could have a hidden field with the event name in here, and I could, so it wouldn't be rendered, but it would be part of the form submit when it was submitted. Pierre is asking how to sign up for email marketing in forms module. Currently not supported. It will be in 8.7 because I forgot to implement that one. And the date and date time field doesn't exist anymore. I don't think we ever had date and date time fields in the forms module. So that's a couple of things that we can do. Another trick I want to show from the front end is this one down here. What I did is on the form itself, let's have a look. First, I want to show you something. This is getting a little tricky. This is explained in the documentation. But if I want to, this is the email I receive as a website owner, and it will use this subject. But what I can do is actually take a look at the system name of this field, and I can say it's called mail subject. And that means I can, on the form, if I create a field down here, which have the same system name as that field from the settings in here. So this one and this one has the same system name. That gives me a possibility of, when I fill it out, I can say this is my custom subject, meaning that now this will be used as the subject line when the mail is being sent, instead of taking the information from the field that was specified in here, or the subject that was specified in here. So it's a bit tricky to do that. It's explained in the documentation how to do it, but basically you can overrule some of the settings that you have in here. You cannot overrule the recipient, for instance, because it's not part of the form itself. Sorry, you can also bypass the recipient by using the same thing, and that's basically what I did down here. I created one called mail recipient. Then I can, using a checkbox list, I can control who will receive this this mail or this form submit in my company, instead of just using the email specified in the field right here. So that's a couple of the tricks that you can do with the system itself. Let's have a brief look at the templates that is going with this. If we take a look at the, no, This will just render all the template tags that are available for the form. So, but if we have a look at what's available in here, I get for each field I have an ID, an HTML ID, which is more unique. Then this is the ID of the field. This is the ID I use for the ID attribute. It has a name. I get the entire control HTML. I get the description, that would be the help text. And I get some information, is this a button or is it another type, and is a field required? And based on all of these things, I basically just loop over the fields in this and render something generic using the form itself and a bit of logic when to get a new column and so on. But what I can also do, instead of looping the fields like this, I would have I will also have a template tag that is just the field dot system name dot control like this. So I can basically just take, and this is outside the loop. So the form has a template tag for each field. And then I can place all the information exactly where I want to. And I can also, control is the HTML itself. But it could also be the label or the description and so on. For each of the fields are available as a single template tag. And you've got a question, how about converting the input into a drop down that gets the value from the field, similar, blah. I don't get that, Nuno. How about converting the input? So when I fill out a form, you would get the information from the form already filled out. You can do that in a razor template for now, but it's not a default behavior, but that could be a good idea. Yeah, now I get what you want to do. Yes, that could be a possibility of changing that behavior instead of using secret fields. Agreed. So, but the template can be used in either a generic way or on a more specific rendering way compared to what you can do today. What happens when we submit a form like this one? I can define if I should be redirected to another page or I should stay on the same page. It wants me to fill out this field, send it out. I also need to fill out this field, and it has to be a valid email. And what happens, as you can see here up, I get a receipt using a token up here, which is a encrypted token on the page that has been sent, meaning I can actually take this URL and send it to someone, and I can go to another browser or another session, and I can actually see the form and the data that was submitted and see the receipt again. So when the receipt has been shown once, it can be shown also later, and this is also a link that is available in the receipt mail that the user receives from the system itself. So, and this is encrypted, so it works like a password, and of course, it's not possible to guess. Can you use smart search to find the users that submitted a form and start an automated flow from email marketing? No, you cannot do that, not currently. But integrating the forms to the users is, of course, one of the things that is on the to-do lists. Any other questions? Otherwise, that's it for the things I want to show you. So it's question time. Can we upgrade from the old to the new forms module? Yeah, you don't have to do anything to upgrade from the old forms module to the new one, because you basically just start using this one. The only thing that you need to do is you need, on the pages where you have the forms attached, you need to reinsert them, and you need to fill out these information. They cannot be generated automatically, so you have to replace the paragraphs where the forms are submitted, and then you can use the editing right away. You don't have to do anything on the database. You just need to get the forms for editors installed. Adrian asks, I missed most of the presentation. Can we create page form like a wizard? Not yet, Adrian. Oh, that's one of the things I forgot. Up here I have validation rules and display rules, and one of the things that you're going to see is some added validations. I'm running on a pre-release of 8.7, and you're going to get some pretty advanced validation rules. So you can say if this field and that field has some things not validated, I will not submit the form. Or you can say if this field has a value, I'm going to show this one, but if this one and that one contains something, you can remove this one. And part of this situation is also going to be working in conjunction with a new element, which is called a section change. And then you can control whether you want different pages or just different sections in your template. So you would be able to get any number of pages out of the forms using this section change out here. But it's not coming in 8.7. And Nuno is asking about the automatic template options picks up from the forms default. I'm not sure I understand, Nuno. Yeah, on the forms you can set a default template. If I choose this one, automatic, it gets it from Dynamicweb, the system. It's placed in along with the application. You don't have access to that template because that's a template that we distribute with the system, but it's the same template as you would see here, default form template. So it's basically a copy of this one. You can see this is located in the forms template folder. And if I go automatic, it's the same template, but it's placed in admin module forms somewhere in there. So it's not possible for you to edit it. And how to show a detailed list of people that submitted the form on a page. You can actually, in the template itself, I don't have a template for it. Maybe we can just use this one. Let's see what we get. Oh crap! It will not display it right now using this template. But what you can do here is that you have actually in the template you have a list of submits, so you can render all the submits like the one that we have here. This is just showing one submit, but this is the information that was submitted, and you can actually there's in the form template you have a loop of all the submits and all the information in that submit. So you can, for example, if you have a sign up for an event, you can list all the names of those signed up for that event. You can do that in the form template itself by creating a loop down here or on the top or whatever you want to do. The templates are missing in our solution. Can we get them? Are you going to distribute them? Yes, you can get them. They should be on new default empty data. Otherwise, I think they are attached to a forum thread somewhere. Or if you update to a newer version of 8.6.1, you would get them if you rerun the updates. You cannot create options yet based on a SQL query. So that would be a suggestion. I've considered it because that would be a very nice addition to how you can do that, and also using items and so on for this. And default template, please not understand. Here, the system is born with a default template, and if you want it, I can send it to you. And is it possible to post the form data to a different goal, e.g. a web service? Currently not. Well, what you can do in here is on the receipt. Where do we have it? You can render a template in here, and if you're quirky, since this is a Razor template, what I can do with the things coming in, oh, this is the receipt email. When I have a confirmation template, and this one instead of using the default confirmation template, you can actually add a piece of Razor code in here that will take the information coming in from the form and communicate to a web service or a web API or something else like that. So you can do that using a piece of code in here, but you cannot commit it to another URL. But you can also, another possibility is, since it's template based, you can always go and change the action right here and add it and control it to, or point it to whatever you want to pick up the form being submitted. But I would probably go with creating a template that knows how to communicate with the external services. Default, how to show details. Okay, Pierre, I'll make an example for you to how that works. And Helena asks, is it possible to make interdependence between the select and the submit so that depending on what you choose in the select, the form input is sent to a specific email address? Yes, that's possible. This was a radio button list or checkbox list, but I could basically change this if we go find the form itself. Instead of having a checkbox list, I can change it to a select box. And you can see the value down here is controlling where it's being sent. So I could have a text and I can do something like this. And if we go take a look at this in the front end, did I forget to save it? I did. The select, there we go. So now it's a select box down here. So if I select this one recipient is going to receive the form. If I do this, someone else is going to receive the form being submitted. So that would be the way you could do it. But you cannot have this one change a value of another field. Not currently. You would have to go into the template to do some tricks to have that work. One last question, anyone? Okay, thank you for attending. The forms module is, what features, validation rules, page and section-based forms, display rules, smart search integration, as Asger was asking about. Someone asked about language management. We're not going to add that since using copies are probably easier to do, but we're considering adding languages as well. And as Nuno also suggested, having these dynamic options lists using Dynamicweb data or external services, that could be using SQL items or whatever we want to add into this one. And did I get one more question? What's my question pane? No more questions. I guess that was it for now. The forms module is already available for all 8.6.1 solutions that has the old forms module and a update agreement. They will get this automatically, so you can just go use it right away. Okay, thank you for listening, everyone, and I'll see you in 2 weeks on the next webinar. Bye.